Welcome everyone to our Wheel and Anchor webinar about our Yachting the Turkish Mediterranean program that we're going to be offering in 2025, both in May and September. Due to the overwhelming popularity of this trip, we've run it the last couple of years in just in September, and in fact twice this year in 2024. And so, because of the this popularity, we decided to do a spring version as well as an autumn version. So let me get right in and tell you all about it. First of all, a couple of quick words about Wheel and Anchor for those of you who perhaps have not traveled with us before, if you're new to our community. We are a group of travelers from all across Canada, and what we have in common is a like-minded sense of travel. And when we say that, it means that we have people in our community that some of whom have extensively traveled throughout their lives, whether it's for business, for pleasure. We have people for whom travel is something relatively new and they don't have a lot of experience. But the common thread is, first and foremost, we are almost predominant, well, we are certainly predominantly, almost exclusively Canadian. We do have a handful of our members that come from other countries, usually referred by other members. And so there is a sensibility that goes with that. There is a quest for learning and a sense of having a good time, but at the same time not sort of stepping on toes, not being respectful of local culture, local traditions. It's all written up in our Traveler's Creed, and that is really the foundation of the community that lies at the core of Wheel and Anchor. And of course, my mission in all of that, when we started this organization a number of years ago, is that our members become well traveled, and more importantly, we always say connected. For us, it's a lot about meeting other people, and a lot of great friends have actually come out of Wheel Anchor trips, and our events that we're starting again this year in the summer of 2024. That is the ability to have people that you can share something in common with, both the anticipation, the looking forward to new trips, as well as obviously enjoying all that goes along with travel with us, and then sharing those memories after the fact with newfound friends is really at the heart of who we are. So I'm just going to share with you a few photos from our trip in 2023, and you can see here all of our members on the back of the gulet. I'm going to tell you all about that in a minute, taking a Zodiac ride out to shore, and just enjoying good company, lots of laughs, and the beautiful sunshine and the incredible coastline that is Turkey. So this just gives you a sense of who comes along on our trips. We have all kinds of people from across Canada, of different backgrounds, of different age groups. It's really quite a unique experience, and we have a great time at Wheel and Anchor. Anyway, let me carry on. First of all, introducing our team. My name is Gordon Drager. I'm the founder of Wheel and Anchor. I curate all of our programs here, and I have an amazing team of professionals that help me deliver this. A growing team, very dedicated folks. The person that's most important to you as our members, at least initially, will be our lead trip specialist. Paul is now one of the most senior members of our team at Wheel and Anchor, and she's the person who's going to answer any questions that you might have, and talk to you about whether you're interested in this trip or maybe one of the other programs that we have. She's the person that's going to get you all excited and signed up to join us on the trip. So today, though, I'm going to give you a little overview of this program, Yachting the Turkish Mediterranean. I'm going to be your digital guide, your digital host, and tell you a little bit about what this trip entails that we're doing next year. So as usual, I'm going to start off with the geography lesson, as it were, the map of the program. So Turkey, as you know, centered here in the eastern part of Europe. In fact, Turkey is actually only a little bit on the European continent, which officially or unofficially, depending on who you asks, kind of goes down through the Ural Mountains and then down through the Black Sea and the Strait of Bosphorus. So again, depending on who you ask, Turkey is both on the European side and the Asian side. The majority of Turkey is actually on the Asian side of the Mediterranean, and Istanbul, where we're going to be visiting first, of course, separated by the Strait of Bosphorus that connects the Black Sea and the Sea of Marmara, which then goes out into the Aegean Sea, and a very important waterway, particularly when you consider world events. But anyway, we're not going to go into that right now. Our program begins in Istanbul, an amazing city. I'll share some images and a bit about what our program entails. We continue overland, and we've done this on purpose because I think it's interesting to see. I mean, Istanbul as a whole is a large city and extends out here to the south shore of this eastern tip of the Sea of Marmara. So we'll pass through sort of industrial areas, and you'll get into the heartland, if you will, of this part of Western Turkey. We're going to make a lunch stop in Bursa, head down to Ayvalık. We're going to spend the first few days on the Aegean Sea in a place that is not terribly well known by Western tourists, by North American tourists, but was very, very well loved and appreciated by members that have joined us on this trip before. We're then going to continue down to visit Ephesus, of course, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, very, very important, the most important historical site in this part of Turkey, before going down to Bodrum, where we will join our gulet for a week of sailing in and around these beautiful islands and this whole sort of archipelago on the coastline of Turkey, ending up in Dalaman, from where we will then fly back to Istanbul to make our trip home. So that's the geographic overview. Let me take you into a few of the particulars of this trip and what it all entails. As of course, first of all, you're going to arrive into Istanbul, a brand new airport, Ataturk Airport, that was just completed a couple of years ago, super modern. If you haven't been to Turkey before, you may have your preconceived notions, and you'll arrive in the airport and you'll go, wow, what a modern, massive, it's one of the largest airports in the world. Quite a place, and you'll be whisked into downtown Istanbul, which is such a cosmopolitan city, such a juxtaposition of old and new and modern skyscrapers and incredible monuments like Hagia Sophia, the Blue Mosque, all of which will be part of our trip there. In fact, Istanbul is such an exciting city and such a vibrant city that I do suggest that you consider perhaps flying in a day or two early, because you can explore it quite well on your own. It's a busy city for sure, but it is worth spending as much time as you possibly can if you're flying out to this part of the world. So you'll be transferred in. We don't plan a lot on our first day, as typical of our trips. We usually have an icebreaker event. You're going to be staying right in the area of the city which is on the west side of the Golden Horn, for those of you that know Istanbul, which is where many of these monuments are, also the Grand Bazaar. So we have a very well situated, a lovely hotel from which to explore. A lot of these things you can see actually on foot. And so we, of course, are going to take in Istanbul into all angles that we can in the few days that we have there. As I mentioned, Hagia Sophia, which was originally built as a mosque and then turned it into a church and then to a museum, and now recently was reverted back to a mosque. Incredible spot. We'll visit the underground cisterns, Roman reservoirs. You can see a great shot of it here, that were built back in the 6th century. And of course, we are going to not leave you in suspense to visit the Grand Bazaar itself, which is one of the largest and oldest covered markets in the world. And the shopping there, well, goes without saying. They have a saying that you can't visit the Grand Bazaar in Istanbul without leaving and leave without a carpet. Of course, you don't have to, but you'll be tempted for sure. I can say from personal experience, I've picked up at least one carpet in past trips to Istanbul. We're also going to take a trip down the Bosphorus. As I mentioned, the Bosphorus is a very important waterway linking the Black Sea and the Sea of Marmara, which then goes out to the Mediterranean. And again, if you think about the conflict that's happening between Russia and the Ukraine at the moment, the Black Sea is very strategic, and so this waterway is of incredible importance not only to Turkey, but of course all of the countries that are around the Black Sea. So we're going to cruise up and down the Bosphorus. You'll have great views of both the Asian and European side. We'll disembark on the Karakoy district. I, in fact, was just there on a layover not that long ago. It's such a vibrant neighborhood, and again, all these sort of old Turkish style buildings, but remnants from a past era, interspersed with sort of modern stuff. Great, just wandering and shopping and taking the neighborhood in. And so we'll visit Galata Port, one of the most important seaports in the area, and the ferries coming and going. I mean, it's just a hustle, bustle of activity. In the afternoon, you'll have a chance as well to do a rite of passage in Turkey. It'll be optional, of course, to visit a hammam, which is a Turkish steam bath, where they do a very particular ritual. For some of our members will know that from other trips. Hammams are becoming popular, not just in Turkey or not just in the Middle East, but all over the world. So that'll be something that you can take in as well. We'll then have yet another day, a half day, to visit some more of the highlights, the spice market, which is on the same general area as the Grand Bazaar. And again, here, the sights, the sounds, the smells of all the different spices that are brought in, not just from across Turkey, but from different parts of the world. We'll go. We'll take the regular passenger ferry across to Karakoy to another part of the Asian side. We'll then indulge in some Turkish delight and some baklava, again a famous part of the cuisine that you'll get to know as we spend our time in Istanbul. We have some lovely meals as well planned. We try to get local restaurants, both. At a sort of common level, like a day-to-day kind of a level, but also some higher end restaurants to give you a great taste of Turkish cuisine. Then, as I mentioned, we will, after first few nights in Istanbul, we'll head out and make our way in the direction of the Aegean coast, going around the Sea of Marmara, stopping for a day in Bursa, which in fact was the first capital of the Ottoman Empire, and has its most significant site, the Grand Mosque that you see here pictured. But this city, I can't call it a town anymore, it's actually quite large, is the part of the Silk Road, and well, again, the Silk Road took a number of different paths depending on the era that it was. I mean, Silk Road operated, as you know, for 1,500 years, and this was one of the places. And we'll have a look at a caravanserai, which is the stop, the inn, if you will, that the traders came to and stayed overnight, did their business. A fascinating piece of history. We make our way then down to a Valak, which is actually part of an archipelago. We in fact actually are going to be staying at a hotel that's on an island just off the coast of Avalik. And this has this area, because of the proximity to Greece, has a lot of influences, not just from ancient Turkey, but also from the Greek side as well. So we're staying on Kunda Island at a lovely hotel. We got so much great feedback about the whole experience here, because this is one of those off the beaten track type places that we like to explore on our adventures. Not far away, we head up into the hills to an area called the Kozak Plateau, and this is quite high up in altitude. I mean, not high like thousands of meters like you have an altitude problem, but you drive up into the hills into this area with beautiful pine forests. And this as well is an area that has become known for its wines, and we have a wonderful vineyard that we visit called Madras. And it's interesting because we ask people what their impression is, what they thought they might experience and expect, and people thought, oh, wine tasting in Turkey, how good could that be? And yet this was one of the days what people said was an absolute highlight and a surprise, because they got to see, first of all, the rural side of Turkey and the wine production and culture that is, again, something that we are not generally familiar of when we think about Turkey. The first thing we think about is not necessarily wine. So we'll have that chance as well. We'll have a day in Avalik itself, visiting some churches. Of course, Turkey is, predominantly a Muslim country, but there are some incredible churches that we will visit around as well, and as well as some Greek Orthodox churches. So there's, again, a juxtaposition of history, both from the Greek side as well as from the Turkish, the Islamic side. We'll go through the market. We'll visit an olive grove here as well. Again, giving you some insight into this area, which is known in the domestic market for the tourism. As you can well imagine, you can see in the picture here the sailboat port. A lot of people will come down from Istanbul and spend time here because it's relatively close compared to the other more famous seaside resorts on the south shore of Turkey. But this is one again that will give you a bit of a different angle onto life on the coast in Turkey. From here again, we head down on probably the longest drive of our trip. That'll take us from Ayvalık all the way down to Bodrum. Luckily, about halfway, we get to visit the Greco-Roman city of Ephesus, and here you probably will have recognized this image. This is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and one of the um, best preserved ruins, best preserved cities from this era. So again, a really important stop, and something that you'll enjoy. We'll pass by Lake Bafa and have some amazing views of the Parmak Mountains nearby. And in the latter half of the day, we'll arrive into Bodrum. We're staying just out of town in Bodrum. Bodrum itself is a very lively city. It's actually a party town for British and other European tourists that come down. So we're staying a little bit outside of town, which means for those that want to walk into the center and enjoy and experience the lively city center, it is a bit of a walk. But in the interest of having a quiet night's sleep before we embark on our ship, we thought it'd be better to stay in a bit more of a quiet spot. We'll have a sightseeing tour in the morning. We'll see the castle. We'll see of course, the market. There'll be some time for shopping in town, and then we'll head over to the marina, where we will board our gulet, which will be the home for the next 7 days. So, of course, the gulet part of our trip is the highlight, although I can't understate how interesting and important the land portion, the first half of the trip is. But of course, everybody is by this point looking forward to getting onto the Mediterranean and sailing with this beautiful ship that again it's one of the nicest ships that we could find that sails this part of the Turkish Mediterranean. There are lots of gulets. You'll pass lots of them. You'll see lots in the marina. But this particular vessel is really first class. You have dining both outdoor and indoor. You have a staff that will cater to all your needs. We provide basically all the meals on board, except we may have a meal or two offshore depending on our excursions on our various stops. We kind of go with the flow between our host and the captain. As I say, we've done this trip a couple of times now. We know the places to go, the stops that our members enjoy the most. So, but all in all, as I say, you'll enjoy the sumptuous comfort of this gulet that has ample space both on deck and outside, so you can enjoy sailing the Mediterranean, looking out at the beautiful blue waters. The cabins, what I particularly like about them, are amply sized, as you can see here from the picture. You can get into the bed from both sides. An important point, because while there are lots of gulets, a lot of them are, they're tucked in, so they're a little bit awkward to get in and out of. And so we've picked something that has some really, really sumptuous amenities here. One of our four, I'm not sure whether this is the fore cabin or the aft cabin, but we have two larger suites aboard the vessel that have even more space, and really a wonderful, and there's hardly a better way to sail the Turkish Mediterranean than aboard our gulet. So we're going to make a number of different stops along the way here, and I'm just going to touch on a few of them. And we visit, first of all, Datça, which is a smaller port city that is part of the so-called Datça Peninsula. And from here on in, there's some beautiful little villages and towns that are nestled among the mountains, but there's actually a lot of open green space. And this is part, again, that of the Mediterranean that a lot of people don't expect. Sometimes they think about the French Riviera or the Costa del Sol as an example, which are quite built up. And although there are pockets of population here, there's quite a bit of green space as well. On another day, we'll head into Benchik Bay, which is one of the is at the narrowest point of the peninsula that separates two gulfs. Again, beautiful evergreen forests. We're going to call in at a lovely little village called Seliminye, which has beautiful views of the Aegean Sea. We can stop in these little towns, go in for a bite to eat, and just sort of wander around, and then we'll have this will be one of the stops, for example, where we go on shore for dinner and have enjoy some food in a very local Turkish atmosphere. Our journey will continue to Hisaranu, and I probably pronounced some of these wrongs. My Turkish is not optimal, but this aerial view gives you a sense of the landscape. You've got limestone mountains, green hills, and beautiful blue bays all the way along. We'll have lunch at Lorema on Buzukale Bay, which is one of the bays that you see down here in the picture. We'll have time all along to go swimming. One could go snorkeling as well. You don't have coral reefs or anything like that in the Mediterranean, but just to be able to soak in the beautiful blue waters. And I remember the first time I sailed along the Turkish Mediterranean, I was so surprised how blue the water was. A different color than the very turquoise hues that you see in the Caribbean, for example, but nonetheless so inviting, so beautiful, again, with this backdrop of these mountains. We'll dine aboard today, and then continue along to a very exciting spot where we'll visit the Lycian tombs that are built into the side of the mountain, and we we'll get a sense these are actually ancient burial sites. So we'll learn a little bit about the burial practices. We'll have a tour of the town of Kaunos, which was another trading post along this part of the Mediterranean. Again, a lot of these towns and villages, as you can imagine, back in the day, were not accessible by road. Some of them are still hardly accessible by road. So some incredible sights to see. So again, the beauty of this trip is we try to tie in both the history, the culture, but also the magnificent scenery that the Turkish Mediterranean has to offer. We'll head into the Bay of Fethiye. Fethiye is one of the more well-known, at least in European circles, resorts town along the Turkish Mediterranean. A beautiful place to anchor, enjoy some of the beaches there. We'll have a guided tour through the old town. It's got some very windy back streets. Again, more places where you can shop for rugs and crafts and jewelry and all kinds of very interesting things. We'll on this day as well, we'll have a chance to visit Kayaköy, which is known as a ghost town. It used to be a community of Greeks and Turks, was long since abandoned, and now it's an open air museum that'll give you a bit of a flavor of what life was like in the past. Many more things to visit on this day. There's another archaeological site in Lycia that we're going to visit that has an ancient temple. And the comment, some of the feedback that I got from our members on our last trip was that they were really amazed how many places that we could go and explore and see this history and these ancient archaeological sites, and there was nobody else there. They were like completely alone exploring the all of these places that Turkey has to offer. We continue along the coast. Again, we're heading in an easterly direction, in the direction of Dalaman. We'll stop here at Tersane Island, which is the largest island in this so-called Gulf of Fethiye. Again, a beautiful spot for swimming. We'll head over to the Yasika Islands, and this will be the last spot where we can go swimming on our journey. And of course, all of the swimming spots and everything is always a little bit weather dependent. Typically, the weather's pretty good at this time of the year, both in May or September. We go for the time of the year when the weather is warm and comfortable. It's not too hot, but at the same time, we're far enough into the season that certainly in September, the water will be warm. If you're an avid swimmer and you like warm water, September might be the better trip, but May at the same time, springtime, fresh, and I know that the Mediterranean is certainly swimmable, if not a little cooler than it would be in September. Our last night will be in Göcek Harbor, another great little town to visit and stroll around for our last evening aboard our vessel. And then we'll disembark and at Dalaman and make our way back home. We're actually going to spend one night in Göcek. We've changed the program a little bit, so rather than flying back to Istanbul on the day of departure, we'll set up everybody up with one night in Göcek, and that'll enable you to take a connecting flight out from Dalaman via Istanbul that will connect with the flights that go back to Canada from there, Turkish Airlines being the most obvious one, as it has direct connections into Canada. And that will sum up the trip. We are going to be offering as well, both in May and in October, a extension program to Cappadocia. You've probably heard of this before, most famous, of course, for the hot air ballooning. And that, of course, is the main reason why folks want to visit Cappadocia. I think it's well worth the trip. Cappadocia being located about 1,500 kilometers further east in central part of Turkey, a beautiful part of the country because of all of these formations. So, so for those on the day of departure, rather than flying back home, instead we will fly from Dalaman via Istanbul into Cappadocia. We'll arrive in Nevşehir and immediately drive not far into Gulsehir, where we're going to visit the cave church of St. John, and then head up to Uchizar, which is these stone-built houses that you see pictured here. The quality of the geology is what has these incredible mountain formations, as not to mention all of these caves that were, of course, lived in back in the 13th century and prior to that. And is what makes this whole region so interesting to visit. The hot air balloon ride, of course, the highlight of the Cappadocia trip. It's an early start, 4:30 in the morning, because of course the whole point is to see sunrise over the cave cities and these incredible peaks of Cappadocia. So it's a really special day. We'll visit Gorem, the UNESCO World Heritage Site as well, which is a monastic complex that goes all the way back to the 4th century. And we'll visit as well the Dark Church, another important stop in this particular area. We'll take one more day in Cappadocia and head a little bit to the north, where we'll head into the Devran Valley. And again, you'll have another perspective on the unique geology. This is actually a great picture. It kind of speaks to the landscape that you can expect here. We'll visit the Zelv Open Air Museum, which is one of the earliest inhabited valleys in Cappadocia. It was actually a sort of a shelter for early civilizations that evolved into being a monastery, and before it, of course, became a national park in the middle part of the 20th century. So you'll see here as well the rock-cut dwellings. It's all very fascinating, and I think the pictures do a pretty good job. But again, the feedback we have from members is that it's a part of Turkey that is well worth visiting. So one more day in this area to take in all of what Cappadocia has to offer by visiting the underground city of Kaymakli. This is one of the deepest underground settlements. So not only did they live in these caves in the mountains above, but also underneath. Again, the soft nature of the rock enabled them to dig out and create these incredible underground cities. So many things to visit. Our trip here in Cappadocia will culminate with sunset at the Red Valley, which will give you an incredible view of the sunset. And obviously, the valley turns into this reddish hue with the sun going down, and it's an incredible experience. So highly recommend staying a few extra days and enjoying Cappadocia, because it's such an important part of any visit to Turkey. That wraps up the day by day. That will have given you a little bit of an insight into what to expect along the way. Of course, all of the details of the program are in our program itinerary. I'll just cover it very briefly. So the information here applies to both May and September trips. our cabins. We have the standard cabins as well as master cabins. Pricing here as noted. These ships are small. The Gulet, I think our group size will max out at about 16 guests, depending on the number of solo travelers that we have with us on the vessel. Perhaps 18 if we have, for example. But last year we had about half of the trip singles and half the trip people, couples or people, two people traveling together. So it's a nice mix of folks that gives you a great intimate environment on this program. The Cappadocia, we have a promo price in place here for both the May and September trips, where we are honoring the 2024 price because we were able to get the yacht company to honor the prices from this year for anybody that signed up early. So we know there's a lot of interest in this trip, so take advantage of our special promo pricing for the standard cabin at $99.90. So there's quite a good reduction than the regular prices, which will come into effect after July 31st for our spring trip, and after August 31st for our September trip next year. A whole host of inclusions, of course, as I mentioned. In total, you've got 9 nights accommodation on land, as well as 7 on board the Gulet. So it's a 16-night program. That's not including, of course, the Cappadocia extension. You've got breakfast every day. You've got all of your meals while aboard the ship. It's again it's a good idea to take a look at the detailed itinerary and see what's where, but you're pretty well looked after. On land, we often do 2 meals a day, either a lunch or a dinner, just because we often feature very sumptuous meals, and our members prefer to just have 2 meals a day. So the post-program to Cappadocia noted here we're luckily, because there's no ship involved, we are able to offer a very compelling single occupancy price with a modest supplement on top of the double price. That makes our solo travelers a lot happier. And of course, here you have all of your transfers, your airfare from Dalaman to Nevşehir here is built in there. Your 4 nights, as well as the meals that are specifically noted. Do have a look through our detailed program itinerary so that you can get all your questions answered. And to the extent there's anything else that you need to know, by all means, give Paula a call, drop us an email, and we'll be happy to make sure that have everything that you need to join us on this incredible program. So I hope you'll consider joining us. Turkey is, again, an amazing destination. Oftentimes, we think about sailing in the Greek islands, but I think that while that is an incredible destination, Turkey is one that I would almost, I don't want to say which one I like better, but I think Turkey is certainly one to explore and enjoy. So thanks so much for listening to this webinar. We'd love to get your feedback, love to get your questions. We are pre-recording our webinars for the next little while, and that way our members can watch them at their own leisure without having to commit to a specific time. So yeah, we'd love to know what you think about that as well. How does that work for you? Thanks again for joining me, and we'll hope to see you on this wonderful trip